Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am a usual host and presenter, Advocate Tudohoyan. This morning I would like to take another look at Kelly Khumalo. Kelly Khumalo features very prominently in the Senzo Meyiwa trial. You cannot have any conversation or discussion about that case without mentioning Kelly Khumalo. She's a central player in that trial and investigation. Not only because there are bits and pieces here and there of information, of evidence that has been, brought before the court in the High Court, before the High Court in Pretoria, about her involvement in one way or another in the killing of Senzo Meyiwa. We have had people like Gininda. Gininda is actually designated as a mastermind. The lead investigator says she's the mastermind in the killing of her own boyfriend, Senzo Meyiwa. So, Kelly Khumalo will always feature very prominently in the trial and investigation. But let us also not forget that she was Senzo Meyiwa's girlfriend. The reason why Senzo went to Foslo Ras was to go and see his girlfriend and have a good time with his friends. So the real reason why Senzo was there, it was at her invitation. But then I said, we are taking a rather different angle to Kelly Khumalo this morning. Let us just have a look at this woman and, try and understand her a little beyond the Meyiwa trial. And of course, like I said earlier on, you cannot just separate her from the Meyiwa trial. But let me begin this way. Kelly Khumalo is a 40-year-old woman, unmarried woman. She was born around, should have been born around 1983, 1984, somewhere or thereabouts, but she's for all intents and purposes about 40 years old. At 40, she has gone through three relationships. Very turbulent relationships. And out of that three relationships, there have been three children born of those relationships by different fathers. I know these days is no longer something to be frowned upon. In my day and age, if, a woman would father three children by three different fathers, way back in my time, in the early 80s, middle 80s, it would be frowned upon. But today it seems to be the norm. But three relationships with three different men really shows you that the woman has had a very troubled relationship with men. It's not many times. It's not easy for you to go around looking for a 40-year-old who has gone through three relationships that each of those relationships has born a child. The first relationship was with Jub Jub. Jub Jub needs no introduction to South Africa, That is a relationship, that brought about, or that yielded a child called Christian, a boy called Christian. Christian is about 16 years old now. And Kelly Khumalo is a very bitter woman about that relationship. There's recently been, a clip doing the rounds on social media where she laments the fact that Jub Jub was so abusive. But central to that clip is the pain and agony of her having to raise a child who is a splitting image of the father that abused her. So how do you unbundle that? It means every time Kelly Khumalo looks at this boy, in this boy, Kelly sees Jub Jub. And that triggers memories. She conjures up memories of the abuse that Jub Jub used to visit on her. So that child symbolizes that agony. They have since parted with Jub Jub. You remember Jub Jub also went to jail and so on and so forth, but that's a topic for another day. But in that clip, Kelly says it is very difficult, and these are things that as women they never talk about. Of a situation where they have to raise single-handedly children of the abusers. But she also goes on to say, to her credit, she also goes on to say, but one has to look beyond that abuse. In her relationship with her son, she says she's got to look beyond that abuse. Because the child, is a different person in his own right. And in essence, this son that she has with Jub Jub, has got nothing up and nothing to do with the abuse that she suffered at the hands of Jub Jub. But she says it is very agonizing. When I had that clip around on social media, I said to myself, wow, why did she have to disclose this? Perhaps she discloses it because she's so hurt about those memories of the abuse that she had to endure at the hands of Jub Jub. But we have it now out there in the open that, she finds it very challenging raising a child whose father was so abusive to her. But then you can turn around and say, well, if she still harbors these sentiments, perhaps at the back of her mind, every time she looks at that child, although she has strenuously said, you have to be a great mom. She's trying to be a great mom to that child, but it is quite difficult. And to her credit again, she's trying her best not to, see Jub Jub in her son. But that is quite challenging. So that is the first, relationship that she went through, which, as I've just explained to you, was very traumatic because there was a lot of emotional and physical abuse in that relationship. The details of which, one cannot adequately cover in the space or in the time allowed for this video. So that was the first relationship. The second relationship was with Senzo Meyiwa. I've said in my opener that, this is probably the relationship that got into the limelight, that was thrown into the limelight more than any other. That too was a very, troubled relationship. Because you'll recall that Senzo was married to Mandisa. And during the subsistence of that marriage, Senzo used to sneak out, literally sneak out, and see Kelly Khumalo away from Mandisa. Mandisa's family to this day is still very bitter about all that. And so is Mandisa. So that on the day that Senzo met his death was on one such occasion when, there was some partying at Kelly Khumalo's house in Fostoras, and she was with Kelly Khumalo away from Mandisa. So it was a very strange relationship. She's also reported, together with her sister Zandi, to have had an altercation or an actual fight at some shopping mall with Mandisa. So it was a very sort of, troubled relationship that she had with Senzo. You'll recall those clips also which were made a year before Senzo died, wherein she says, Senzo is not strong enough to handle all this pressure. At some stage, she says Senzo's mother, is just out to scandalize her because she's looking for fame and all that. So she remains to this day totally unacceptable to the Meyiwa family and has had no interaction with the Meyiwa family ever since Senzo Meyiwa passed away in her home in Vosloorus. The other, dimension to all this is the child that she had with Senzo, right? The daughter that he had with Senzo, right? She has not made it possible for Senzo's parents or relatives to access that child. In other words, she has denied them total access to that child, right? And you can imagine the pain on the Meyiwa family, because the only thing, tangible that the Meyiwa family can hold on to is Tingo, the daughter that Senzo fathered with Khumalo. She's reported not to have, the Meyiwas have no access to Tingo. And they are reported, the last time they are reported to have had any interaction with Tingo was when Tingo was about a few months old. And that was sometime in KZN. Tingo is grown up now, she's about 11, 12 years thereabouts. And they've been totally isolated from her ever since Senzo passed away. So this is a very, troubling sort of, perspective into the pressure that Kelly has to survive under, the life that she has to lead, the people surrounding her, the media publicity, which is more often than not friendly. As it is, in the Senzo Meyiwa trial, even if you look at docket 636, Kininda 636, Kininda calls her the mastermind and killer of her own boyfriend. If you put away 636 and take a look at 375, she's supposed to have shot Senzo accidentally in that house. So either way, she will not escape responsibility here. Either way, she gets implicated in the killing of her own boyfriend. The third relationship that she has gone through, which yielded yet another child, right? I think the name of the child is Luna, with one Tokozi Siende. Tokozi Siende was a former Kaizer Chiefs player, He was not a very popular player during his days at Kaizer Chiefs, but anyway, let us say he was a Kaizer Chiefs player, somebody, relatively prominent. Not much is known about that relationship, but just like the two preceding relationships, it also came to an end after yielding a child. So there you have it, 3 different men, 3 children. Now the latest that we hear is that Khumalo wants to be fourth time lucky. It wants to be fourth time lucky. She is now dating musician Arthur Mafokate. And there's also talk going around that, they are set to get married or at least engaged sometime in the first or second week of March. So this is Kelly Khumalo, a young lady who has had a very troubled life and yet a very short life. In that life, she has seen it all. So this is a perspective that I wanted to bring this morning, just for us to share some of these, traumatic experiences that she has had to go through in her life. So we'll see how it pans out with Mafokate. But that being a personal issue, we will still have our focus largely on the Senzo Meyiwa trial because it still has a long way to go. Still has a long way to go. We'll probably still be sitting with the Senzo Meyiwa trial this time next year. It doesn't seem to be going away or about to end very soon. So that is Kelly Khumalo. That is Kelly Khumalo, the man who Gininda calls the mastermind in the killing of her own boyfriend. What do you think? Need I say more? Just click that subscribe button and you'll make my day. I'm also pleased with the views that I'm seeing. Please don't skip those ads. Somebody was telling me that every time I'm telling people to skip something else. What I'm talking about is do not skip those ads. And have a wonderful, wonderful Friday. Thank you.